Welcome home. You know, as spiritual beings having a human experience, our spiritual being is home anywhere we are. Our human being is home on this planet. And Spirit, who we come from, has created the most magnificent thing that we could ever imagine. We can't even get our heads around what's going on in this world, on this planet. So welcome home. I'd invite you, you're not required, but I'd invite you as you enter our home to take off your shoes. And your socks, if you have socks on. Connect yourself back to the Great Mother that helps sustain us as human beings. So what I'd like to do today is talk a few minutes about the incredible vastness of what this is we call the planet Earth and our place here. Because as humans, we've spent so much time trying to separate ourselves from this incredible being we call the planet. But we're really just one species of millions and millions of species. So as Homo sapiens, we're one particular type of animal. There's another particular type of animal, right?
The dog.
The dog, right. So, you know, as humans, we try to use our brain to wrap our heads around stuff, but let's see if we're even close to wrapping our heads around what this is that we're celebrating here. So let's start with the smallest part of this creation that is alive. So if any of you want to take your hand and take a pinch of earth, you've just picked up over 1 million bacteria.
I'm good with that.
There's over 1 million bacteria in just a pinch of earth. Over tens of thousands of different species of bacteria in this earth. In this pinch of earth, we could spend the rest of science trying to categorize and understand each of the bacteria in this pinch of earth, but we'd never get there because our Creator has informed us with life, and life, by definition, keeps expanding, keeps evolving. You know, I'm old enough to have lived through the big debate between creationism and evolution. What a false dichotomy. Our Creator created evolution. That's part of the process that was put into place when this world was created. So these bacteria just keep on creating. They keep on creating life for themselves. We know that bacteria actually secrete enzyme that protects their group, just like we protect our groups as humans. So that from outside forces, they've seen that bacteria push out bacteria that are rogue or that aren't contributing to the collective. So there's this force called life that keeps on pushing out and creating newer and newer entities. So there's hundreds of thousands of millions of bacteria that we don't even have ever come across in our scientific minds. That's just one of 5 categories of life that we've kind of categorized life into bacteria. The second one is a category that's pretty loosely defined, and it's algae. It usually exists in water. I got some water from Alum Springs. This water has algae in it. Oh, wait a minute, I forgot to set all of this up. Let me set this up, because where this talk came from is this book called 1 Cubic Foot by a photographer. And what he did is he took a cubic foot, the outside edges of this are 12 inches all the way around, and he took, it was a metal cubic foot, but he took it to different parts of the world and then tried to photograph everything inside that cubic foot. So he took it to the cloud forest in Costa Rica. He took it to the ocean and looked at all of the ocean animals. He put it down into the ground in Central Park, halfway into the ground in New York City, and then tried to take pictures of everything that was in that cubic foot in different locations. And it's an amazing book. I'm going to put it up there for you to look at during our picnic, because I want you to just take in what's around us now here. I also brought a book called Heaven and Earth. This is one of my favorite books. It's pictures of everything that humans can't see, not everything. Every picture is a picture of something that humans can't see with the naked eye. So it's either microscopic or telescopic. And so it's got some amazing pictures that you can just see the way that almost the fabric of the universe. So let's get back to our 5 different categories. We're talking about algae. This water looks fairly clear. In another era, I would drink it, but Melvin, you're welcome to take a sip. The main reason that we can't drink this water is what? Humans, right? We've polluted most of the water on the planet. This actually, if there's a spring here, I don't know the history of Alum Springs Park, but I imagine there's a spring here, we'd probably get fairly good water out of this. But within this is algae. Within this very cup, there isn't anything green that I see in here, but there are probably millions of diatoms. Anybody heard of a diatom? Yeah. Few of you, yeah. So diatoms are the only living organism on the planet whose edges and boundaries are made out of silicon, out of silica. So it's glass is their boundary. And diatoms are responsible for 20% of the oxygen that's created on the planet. And they live in water. They're part of the plankton that whales eat and other big sea mammals, but they're incredibly plentiful, and they are one of the building blocks of the planet. So diatoms, we don't even see them. Some of us have never even heard of them, but they're incredibly profuse. They divide by, or they reproduce by the mother or father. They're asexual, giving half of its shell to one offspring and the other half to another offspring. And so they just divide into 2, and they usually call them mother and daughter as they divide. They live about a day, and they reproduce. They just keep on reproducing. So there's another thing that's happening around us all the time, particularly in water, the algae. So the third category Anybody know what the next highest size category is? Oh, okay, we've got somebody that can talk about that. Tell us.
It's either.
Either. No, don't.
Hold on.
You practiced.
No, I did. It's either fungi or fungi.
Right, exactly. It's pronounced either way, fungi or fungi, okay? Fungus is another category of living organism that is all around us all the time. In fact, you've probably breathed in a lot of spores of fungi just by being out here, but we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. So fungi are plentiful in the world. They help break down trees and other dead plant material. In fact, they're active along with bacteria and nematodes in breaking down all of this litter that's on the ground. But one thing that we've discovered in the last 10 or 20 years is they're the largest organism that we've ever discovered. There's a fungus in Oregon that is three and a half square miles big, which is a third of how big the city of Fredericksburg is.
Wow.
And it spreads about a foot a year. And it's estimated to be 2,000 to 8,000 years old. And, you know, as humans, we think, oh, yeah, we can create stuff and we can modify our environment and make all of this stuff happen. The foresters are like throwing up their hands saying, there's nothing we can do. You know, we just have to watch what's happening. They've actually planted different types of trees in this area to see which ones are tolerant of this fungus, but it actually breaks down living trees and fells them, and it's an amazing living organism. So we have fungi all around us all the time. That's the third one. The fourth one, as we're getting bigger and bigger, is the plant kingdom, which we're right in the middle of, right? It's easy to see the plant kingdom, although there's tiny little plants too that we don't even see. What we're learning about the way Source has created this beautiful living planet is that plants communicate. Plants communicate to each other. We're in the midst of a community right here. We've been invited, or maybe not, maybe we invaded this community, right? These trees talk to each other. What we've discovered is they use low-level electromagnetic, they use chemical, and they use hormonal messaging. They also share sugar. Sugar is one of the main things that helps plants to thrive. And so they can share sugar. If one of them is diseased or something, they'll share some of their sugar. It'll go down into the ground. So if we took this and put it about a foot or two down into the ground and looked at what was happening within this, we'd find there's all kinds of communication going on between these trees. The researchers have identified that there's usually a hub tree, what the researcher calls a mother tree, where it's the older tree and kind of sets the tone for everything around. So if you look around here, most of these trees are pretty young actually, but there's a tree down by the swing set that's a little bit bigger around, it's got two trunks coming out of it, that might be the mother tree for all of these trees that we see around here. And so they're communicating all the time.
I have a mother tree on my property.
Yeah. Yep. And what?
She told me when I moved in.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. So she communicates, and it kind of looks over all of the other plants that are living in that area. So these are all ways that we are just part of this web of life. The last category is one that we belong to, and that's animals, animalia. We are one of many animals. Animals are usually defined as being mobile, and plants are not as mobile, although that's not a clear distinction. You know, some plants are mobile, some animals aren't mobile. But animals have helped us to understand plants as well. For example, one of the ways we learned that plants communicate to each other is scientists were studying giraffes in Africa. And giraffes will go to their favorite tree to eat the leaves, and they purposely go to the one that is most downhill from, downwind from the other trees. Because what they found is that when a giraffe eats the leaves of a tree, then that tree sends out airborne chemicals that if it's upwind, it'll go down to the other trees, and the other trees start producing toxins that can actually make the giraffes, when they go and eat those trees, either sick or die. So giraffes have learned to eat the leaves of trees upwind so that when they go to the next tree, the chemical is blown that way instead of to the trees that they're going to eat. Amazing, amazing world that we live in. Just incredible. So let's talk about humans for a minute. Because remember, we started talking about bacteria, the smallest single-cell organisms on the planet that are alive. Well, humans are estimated to have about 37 trillion cells in your body. 37 trillion. But we also are hosts to bacteria. It's always amazing to me, I hope I don't offend anybody, but it's always amazing to me that people who use this antibacterial stuff on their hands, because we're swimming in bacteria. I mean, we just got it all over us. We walk through it. It's everywhere. So in our bodies, guess how many bacteria live in our bodies? What? Three? Three. No, a little more than that. There are, what? 687. You got to keep going up. There are an estimated same number of bacteria living in our body than we have cells. 37 trillion bacteria live in our body. So if we took this cube and inserted it into my stomach, we won't do that, but say, comes halfway in and halfway out, we'd find all kinds of bacteria. They're mainly in our stomach, but they're all over our body. They're on our skin. They're in all parts of our body. But the bacteria within our stomach, most of them can be useful bacteria. Most of what we're learning in medicine and science is there's good gut bacteria and there's bad gut bacteria. And many of the things that we've chosen to eat or that we've let other people process for us to eat end up promoting bad bacteria that then end up affecting our health. And so we have trillions of bacteria in our body that help us to stay alive and help us to generate the energy that we need. Now, I could kind of gross you out and say that, you know, every time you take a dump, you have less bacteria in your body. But you catch up, you know, by taking it in other ways. So as we're sitting here and as we're breathing, every breath you take in, you're taking in all kinds of life and all kinds of things that you have no idea you're taking in. You're taking in about 1,800 different bacteria with every inhalation. You're taking in fungi spores. You're taking in dander. You're taking in mold. You're taking in all kinds of things that we have, you know, it kind of freaks us out when we think about it. But the beautiful thing is our Creator made us in such a way that when we are in balance, when we connect to the energy of the source of the universe, then we stay in balance and we process all of those things and come through it healthier and stronger than before. So we are so wonderfully and fearfully made, incredibly complex, the most complex mammal on the planet. So if you listen, and we'll do this during our meditation, if you listen, I'd like for you to see if you can hear the sound of the singing of the bacteria, because they're singing their Creator's praises by manifesting what they were created to be. And I want you to listen to see if you can hear the singing of the algae, because they're singing the song that they were created to sing. And I want you to listen to see if you can hear the sound of the singing of the fungi all around us, all the time, because they are singing the song that they were created to sing. And I want you to listen to see if you can hear the singing of the plant kingdom. These trees around us, all of the understory. See if you can hear their song, because they are singing the song of who they were created to be. And finally, I want you to listen to the singing of the animalia, all of the animals that surround us and ourselves. And I want you to see if you can hear within yourself, you adding to the chorus of everything that is singing around you. So let's take a minute and get comfortable in your chairs. You're welcome to leave your eyes open. You might want to look up into the beautiful beech trees or sweet gums. And as you get quiet, use your human ears first. Hearing the animalia playing over on the playground. Now listen for the plants. And now listen for the fungi. And now hear the algae laughing in the creek. And the bacteria, the ones underfoot, the ones floating through the air, the ones in your ear canal. And as we go into silence, listen for your heart song. What were you created to bring to this beautiful symphony?